Hello, everyone. I do hope all of you are doing well. I'm Surabhi Jamal with Read Between the Lines, curated just for you. Today, we will read a poem by the late Eunice De Souza called Meeting Poets. Contrary to the title, the poet doesn't actually want you to meet her in person. But then, how does she want you to meet her? Let's find out together. Come, let's read it. I don't know about you, but whenever I look at the picture of Mona Lisa or Frida Kahlo's self portrait, or The Thinker by Auguste Rodin, or the collected poems by Sylvia Plath, or A Necklace of Skulls by Eunice De Souza, I so wish that I would have lived when they were living and would have gotten a chance to meet them in flesh and blood. I would have loved to ask them about their preferences. I would have loved to have observed how they speak. But that is exactly what today's poem is all about, not wanting to know all these things. And why? Creative people, be it a poet, a painter, a sculptor, an author, should be appreciated for their works of art. At times, the dress, the hair, the manner of speech of these artists may confuse or create doubts in our minds as to their worth, but it is always better to put aside such judgments based on their looks and go through their works of art to know their true worth. Here we have Eunice de Souza putting forth this view in her poem. She herself was born in Pune in the year 1940 and passed away in the year 2017. An Indian English language poet, literary critic, and novelist, she held the position of the head of department of the very famous and reputable St. Xavier's College, Mumbai. Her notable works include Women in Dutch Paintings, Ways of Belonging, A Necklace of Skulls, and Learn from the Almond Leaf. Again, I would have loved to have known this lady. Here she has a parrot perching on her head, apparently an animal lover, and described as an elegant, witty, and pitilessly sharp poet. Let's look at her poem, Meeting Poets. Meeting poets, I am disconcerted sometimes by the color of their socks, the suspicion of a wig, the wasp in the voice, and an air sometimes of dankness. Best to meet in poems, cool speckled shells, in which one hears a sad but distant sea. Eunice de Souza wants to say in her poem, Meeting Poets, which is a very short, to the point, ironical poem where she guides the reader to the fact that a poet is best known and appreciated through their work rather than forming an opinion from their looks, mannerisms, or personality. She herself is a poet and writes in the first person and says that she has been confused, that is, disconcerted, or taken aback on meeting poets as their physical appearance or personality has not been very inspiring. On personally meeting these poets, she finds that poets are bald and might have worn a wig, that is, she suspects that might be true, and maybe are wearing dirty socks, which actually means they are shabbily dressed. Added to this, they speak with bitterness and irritation in their voice. Here she calls it a wasp in the voice, which symbolizes irritation. Writers or poets usually come up with outspoken comments which are too harsh to hear. To top it all, they have an aura, an air of unpleasantness about them. What is left unsaid over here is that poets are not bothered about living up to their such expectations of readers as they are in their own world, weaving magic with words. Also, for readers, it is best to not meet our heroes or heroines in flesh and blood, as we are bound to be disappointed, perhaps, with their persona. In the last lines of the poem, the poet makes a very telling observation where she advises that it is best that we meet the poet through their writing, which is beautiful like a cool speckled shell, suggesting a greater variety, perhaps mystery, as here if one puts the shell to one's ear, one can hear the sounds made by a sad, distant sea, referring to the beautiful works of poetry being written in different emotions by the poets. The poet recommends knowing poets only through their poems, as it is here where poets express themselves more clearly than in real life. I would like to add a point about cool speckled shells. So, speckled means the spots, the tiny spots that you see on the shells as represented in the picture on screen. And cool speckled shells refers to the beautiful variety that poets present through their work. They in fact might be more pleasant, more enjoyable, more pleasurable than the personality of the poet. So that is why the poet says, best to meet in poems, cool speckled shells. You will get so much more of a beautiful experience when you read the works of these poets. Here we have the extensive use of imagery, the visual imagery, when she describes the poets by their color of their socks, maybe perhaps using a wig. And we have the usage of a metaphor in the lines, cool speckled shells. She describes the poets as being cool speckled shells. I'm sure you'll agree that this wonderful gallery of Indian women authors and poets has left us spellbound over the ages. Be it Anita Desai, Kamala Das, Mahadevi Verma, Meera Bai, Amrita Pritam, Sarojini Naidu, Arundhati Roy, and Eunice De Souza. Their works, cool, speckled shells, and that's where I would like to meet them. And that brings us to the theme of this poem. Judge a person by his or her work, not looks. And last but not least, this poem has been written in free verse, that is, there is no rhyming scheme. I guess Eunice de Souza's point of view may not be everyone's cup of tea, but I sure liked it. I do hope you enjoyed this poem and my explanation. This is me, Surabhi Jamal, signing off till we meet again. Have a great day. Bye bye.